Well, it's not just here in the UK we're focusing on energy issues. It's a major problem at the moment in China. Today marks the start of Golden Week, which is one of the biggest national holidays in China. Normally, it's an occasion filled with light, but not this year as millions across the country face blackouts amid a sprawling energy crisis, which has hit everything from homes to factory floors, affecting firms like Apple and Tesla, leading to shutdowns and suspensions across industry. There are reports of traffic lights being turned off, lifts closed and mobile phone coverage shut down. As the BBC's China media analyst Kerry Allen reports, the energy crunch is the main talking point on social media.
This is a video that went viral earlier on Chinese social media this week. It's a woman saying that she's been stuck in a lift with her one-year-old son for more than half an hour after the electricity suddenly went off. People have struggled quite consistently to get power in many Chinese provinces over the last week, and particularly in the northeast. And there is growing concern given it's getting very, very cold in China's northern regions at the moment. Heilongjiang province, which is one of the areas that has experienced repeated and prolonged power cuts in recent days, has just seen its first snow this week. In winter, it can get down to minus 30 Celsius in this region. This is a man talking about how his work has ground to a halt because there is no power anywhere around, and he's showing the scenes outside his window. Some are trying to turn it into a positive thing. There has been one video that's proven popular which talks about how in ancient times people didn't have mobile phones, air conditioning or TVs. It's got people thinking about how they could pretend to be like one of the characters in their favourite period drama when life without technology was a lot simpler.
Kerry Allen reporting there. Well, I'm joined by Dr. Linda Yu, the economist and author. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Katie.
There's a bit of a nostalgia in that report from Kerry at the end there, but this is really quite serious, isn't it? I just wonder if you could talk us through what the reasons are behind it.
It's been described as a perfect storm because the higher energy prices that we've all been experiencing, China has, on top of a fairly aggressive government campaign to try and meet its emission targets. So you might recall that China wants to reach peak emissions within a decade by 2030. So they've been reining back on coal production, which is the major source of how they produce electricity. Another half, or just under half of China's energy production comes from wind and solar. But with an energy crunch, it's become quite apparent that renewables are not enough in order to provide the energy needed. And that's why you're seeing 2/3 of provinces experiencing power outages. And as you mentioned, major companies have been told they need to cut back on production. The impact on the Chinese economy is so severe that they actually have their first indication of a contraction of manufacturing activity in September based on an influential survey. That's actually the first time since the pandemic hit in February 2020. So I think that gives you an indication of how emissions plus China being subject to global energy prices rises just like us has impacted the world's second biggest economy fairly severely.
And on those global energy prices, I mean, Chinese central government officials have ordered the top energy companies in the country overnight to secure supplies for this winter at all costs. I mean, that must have an effect on global energy prices.
Yeah, absolutely. China is the biggest consumer of energy globally, and you might recall that its major energy companies are state-owned or state-controlled. So we would expect China, for instance, to import more, not just coal, because it actually produces most of the coal itself, but particularly natural gas. So oil and gas prices are already elevated, again, because of a number of factors on the demand side as economies rebound from the pandemic. And then on the supply side bottlenecks have also caused prices to rise. And China, on top of that, is certainly going to increase, I think, demand and therefore prices for global energy that will be felt here and in other markets.
And just briefly, do you have a sense of how long this could go on?
It depends on how much of this energy they can actually import. Expectations are that it won't happen very quickly. So in the next few months, the third quarter, a number of economists and investment houses think that the Chinese economy may not actually grow in the third quarter. And they're all cutting growth forecasts for China for the rest of the year. So it could be a tough winter for them, and we'll certainly feel the impact of that here as well.
Thank you very much for joining us, Linda Yu there.